Calling all nerds. This is More Than Dice, the podcast where we dive deep into the realms of everything nerdy. Whether you're a nerd culture connoisseur, a tabletop titan, a miniature gaming marveler, or just someone who proudly embraces their inner geek, this is the podcast for you. And now, let's get to the show.
Welcome to another episode of More Than Dice. I'm Gonzo.
I'm Mizzy.
I'm Nessie.
Hi, I'm Slade.
We have our good friend Big Jim Slade on today because if there's anybody that I know that I can talk about RPG stuff with, it is Slade. It is anybody that we can talk about. So today on episode 351, we're going to be talking about RPGs in review. Pretty much what it is, we're going to talk about some RPGs that we've seen, RPGs that we've done, RPGs that we've played, kind of where we're going to see RPGs are going, maybe see where we hope they're going, and maybe talk about, RPGs that we've been playing too, which will probably be the first thing because we always like to talk about what we do in our RPGs. So with that being said, we have to give a good shout out to our good friends Turbo Dork and thank them for providing sponsorship for the channel. Make sure you go check them out. I know I talked to them recently and they have some new products coming out and new things on the way. So yay!
Yay, new shinies.
New shiny stuff. We also want to send a shout out to Eldrick Foundry if you want to create your own miniature and create stuff that looks really cool, you can always check them out and go in there and design your own stuff. They just released Skeleton and an Undead Horse, by the way.
Nice.
So you can get that done. I know that there's more things coming down the pipeline. Can't talk about it or we get in trouble, but there's new things coming on the way, so it'll be kind of cool to see that. Other than that, I know that there's like this big discussion and everything about what everybody's drinking. So Slade, since you're the guest, what are you drinking tonight?
I am honestly sticking with, I just finished my cup of tea, so I'm going to be going with some pretty much just flavored water for tonight. I'm getting over I had a bad food poisoning or something last weekend, and I'm still a little on the sensitive side. So,
well, and yeah, you were sick even before that too. So,
yeah, that's been most of my life. Yeah. Oh, you mean physically? Yeah.
Potato.
Busy. What are you drinking tonight?
I have some of my strawberry kiwi water because it's delicious, and I went to the store today and got some.
Nessie?
So there.
I got a orange Celsius for now, and maybe have a cup of coffee after the podcast.
All the caffeine, all the sugar.
All the caffeine. Yep.
I am doing the respectful thing because I am still getting over my last bit of my COVID. I think I tested negative last Saturday. So, I'm only a week, past it. So I'm still weak as shit. I went to pick up something today. I went, holy crap, this is heavy. And I was like, man, my body is still not used to this. So I'm just doing the good old H2O tonight, and just keeping it live and real like that. Cause there's, you got to keep hydrated and such, but man, you don't know how bad it hits until after it's done. And you're like, shit. I lost actually 7 pounds during the week that I had COVID. Now, I'm going to gain some of that back, of course, but still, that was crap. That was crap. So, guys, we appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate everybody watching. We appreciate everybody, whether you watch us live, we watch us on YouTube, Spotify, our webpage, doesn't matter. We don't care where. We just appreciate you coming in and hanging out. A lot of things that we're going to be doing. We have a lot of RPG stuff coming up. And which is the reason why we're actually branching out on a lot of RPGs. We were going to be doing a bunch of streaming for all of our RPGs. We've got our Rebirth of Souls that we do. We have the Haunting of Lexington Manor that's coming up. It's going to be a one shot, and all the one shots that's going to be done are going to be done in this one world. And I'm actually in talks for 2 other one shots right now, with 2 other podcast groups, and seeing what they have to say. So that's going to be coming up.
Put
And
some
then
little
we also,
Gonzo put some asterisks on that. All the one shots that you will be running.
yes, I should
Right.
say I will be running. And it'll just be one shots in this world. One of them will probably be a reoccurring one shot based on what everybody else does in the other one shots, based on this one group that I talked to. So it'll be kind of weird. I know it sounds weird. Reoccurring one shots. I can be reoccurring one shots, and one shots are one shots.
Right.
We'll see.
It's yours, so it's fine. It's weird.
Yeah.
We noticed it's weird out of you.
And then we know we have our Villa of the Lost game, which we were supposed to play on this last Saturday. Things came up, which is also another reason why we're having this discussion about RPGs, because we're also going to talk about some of the challenges of doing RPGs. But that one was supposed to go, and we actually were doing pretty good. We were doing like every other week on that, so missing one is not bad compared to a lot of other things. So, guys, it is pretty shitty out there. We want you to make sure you take care of yourself. We also want you to make sure that you're looking after each other. Make sure that if you see something, you say something. You hear something, you say something. If you can do something, do something. If you can't, find somebody that will, because we've got to look after each other in all aspects. Make sure you hug each other. Make sure you give each other, there's nothing wrong with telling your friends that you love them. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Just look out for each other. Cheers.
Cheers.
What the?
On another note, I did talk to our good old friend, Mr. Wapple, a little bit
Yeah.
last night. And he's got some things coming up that he's going to talk to me about. There's possibly some Kathy birthday stuff that he wants to do. So we'll get on that and such. So we'll, have to wait and see. But he was mentioning some things on that because he's also got he's been working with Eldritch Foundry also, and he's been making numerous versions of Wapelius. Shocker, right?
I love it.
So he's been doing that.
Wapple doing Wapple things.
Yeah.
Right.
He was last night he was painting up mounted orcs from Warcrow. And he was like, yeah, this one was just primed, an hour ago. And then of course it looks fucking amazing and almost done
Yeah.
type thing.
Like
I mean,
Like,
it's done when he primes it and hits it with the sponge, and that's
Yeah.
right.
that's already sale worthy.
He sneezes. It's blind in one eye because of the sun, and he's using like a size 50 brush, and it still comes out better than anything I could possibly come up with. So,
Yes.
Yeah,
and
it
then with
was
his own voice.
when he had that, I was looking at it and I said, really, Jim? Really? And he was like, yeah, I just primed this like an hour ago. And I go, yeah, and he's already got like, all the intricate detail on there and just going crazy. I was like, what? Bird.
Rope chop.
There is a reason why we call him the Bob Ross of mini painting, though. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So before we get started, there's a reason why when I talk RPGs or anything is because I always go to Slade. Slade and I, we've met a long time ago, 5, 6, some odd years ago, and we started talking about RPGs, and no doubt about it, him and I are old men. We've been doing RPGs probably, yeah. Slade's like, what? How dare you accuse me of being old?
Rude.
Cover the gray.
And we kind of bonded of, yeah, I remember doing this and this, and we go back through, and in the before the pre-ramble, we were talking about our amount of RPGs that we've had, and we have external hard drives of RPGs, and it's just PDFs of PDFs of PDFs of everything that we can think of, and am I going to play all of these? No. Is anybody going to play every single RPG that they have?
No.
No.
Mm.
But we collect them. It is a collection. It is something that we collect. And usually when we collect them, there's something in that is really, really cool that we like. Or, hey, this is just this is a system I like. This is a background I like, etc., etc. Then the reason why we collect them. And so Jim and I started talking, and we were talking about the amount of games that we have is astronomical. I mean, how many gigs, Slade, do you have of RPGs on PDF?
So the entire drive right now is sitting at 27 gig. But like I said, probably about maybe a third of that is maps and other assorted graphic assets. So, at least 20 something gig of PDFs.
Yeah. Which is quite a shit ton. I think do I have my... Oh yeah, here's my external hard drive. I don't remember how many... I don't know if it's a terabyte or not, but I haven't looked at it in a while because I haven't... as soon as I get a PDF of one, I plug it in, download it to it, take it off there, and, store it away for later. Because, I mean, I prefer books, but, PDF's a PDF.
Oh, wait, sorry. That was just the one folder. It's actually 831 gig on that drive. I read the wrong window that I saved.
This is my Pikachu surprised face. Guess what? It's not surprised.
Not surprised.
Yeah. So let's talk about our first. Before we go, let's get a little bit of background. My first RPG that I played was late 70s, early 80s. Was the original D&D, where you had to color in your D20s and all your dice with a crown so you could see. Yeah, you probably got it over there.
I got the crayon in that box I showed you earlier.
And the D20, I remember that, the D20 would get so rounded from rolling and such. It was horrible. Those dice were so much crap. They were crappy dice. But that was my first, was original D&D. Nessie, what was yours?
Cyberpunk 2020
Ooh.
by R. Telesorian Games. Circa 1993, I started playing that. That was like 13, 14 years old. D10, D6 system. Not very... Yeah, it's still nostalgic for me. So it brings back like Blade Runner. Anytime I see Blade Runner, Max Headroom, any of those like Johnny Mnemonic, anything William Gibson, that was my first book, my first role playing game.
Slade?
So it was the Red Box, but about the same time. So this was 7th grade, so 82. My friend got this. We went over, we tried it out for a little bit, but he also got Traveler. The original Traveler was out at that point in time too.
Oh,
so
man.
we played that as well for a short period of time. So I kind of conflate them both as the first, because we played a little D&D, played a little Traveler, ended up going back to D&D, especially once Advanced came out.
Definitely that. Hey, Mizzy, what was your first
Hi,
D&D?
Gonzo.
What was your first RPG you played?
D&D 5th edition, about 4 or 5 years ago
Yeah.
at this point.
Now,
I'm just a baby. I
now
will say that a lot tonight.
was that? But had you wanted to play before, or was this your kind of like your first jump into it?
So, I did online role playing on like Gaia Online, like on the forums and everything, but it didn't have dice, but it had like the storytelling aspect of it, type of thing. So like there was a little bit of a foundation, but I hadn't like fully got into the nerdum before that. So like,
So
it's one of them things. it was one of those, yeah, I was interested. Yeah, I liked making up stories, but I hadn't really had an opportunity to be like exposed to the whole D&D role play tabletop games. And then, you came along and picked me up on the side of the road.
And you're about to, so if people don't know, Missy's about to start her own and run her own game pretty soon too.
Nice.
Ooh.
Asterix.
Asterisks.
The asterisk being Gonzo is full of shit, and but also there could be a little bit of truth in there, but
So-
it just depends on your definition of soon.
The thing is Missy really likes all the Dritz books and all the Menzer Moranzin and all that. And I have the Drow huge book, I can't remember the whole thing of it. Mizzy has it now. The
You gave
Drow
it to me
books.
for my birthday as a motivation of, hey, start running things. Happy birthday! Start running things. Get out of your
Right.
comfort zone. Happy birthday! God damn
And
it,
so
Gonzo.
she might run that. I don't know. But it was just for, just to do it. But also it was, she really likes the Drow and the story and the history and all that stuff. So perfect book to go with it. But
It's not a no.
correct. Now here's the kicker. When was the first time you started running games? Blade?
Wasn't too long after. It was probably, I was in high school, I think. So mid to late 80s.
Sounds about right.
I wasn't good at it, but
But what was your first adventure a copy of something else that you watched or seen?
No, actually, the first thing I ran was the Isle of Dread, the module, the Isle of Dread. I ran that and then realized I painted myself in a corner by misreading something, and I had to backtrack a couple of things. So it was that was a formative lesson in read your shit.
What'd you do?
So I misread something and ended up putting the group in the wrong area. And they shouldn't have been there yet. And I had to figure a way to get them back out because they weren't ready to get in there yet. And I wish I could remember the details because that was a long time ago. And I haven't read, last time I actually even looked at Isle of Dread. Oh, that had to have been 20 years ago. So, but I remember I got them in the wrong area. I had to get them out because they hadn't gone through the first two yet. It was like, set them to area 3. Shit.
Yeah, I actually think they reprinted that just recently too.
I think too, they have, so I have this series. I'm going to pull something out of the tree again. This series, the old, Goodman Games is redoing and updating like Castle Amber, and the spaceship game that I can never remember, the spaceship module. And I think that Isle of Dread and a couple of the others are going to be redone like this too.
Yeah, I mean, I remember
This
that.
was my favorite AD&D module ever, Castle Amber. Love it.
One of my favorite ones, and it's actually not a module you're supposed to run in a serious tone, which is Castle Greyhawk. Castle Greyhawk is amazing module to run, and you one of the parts of the module you're supposed to take a beholder to prom.
Oh my god.
That's one of the things you were supposed to do.
I would do that.
Oh, it's all quirky, silly, stupid things. There's
Those eye stalks.
there's a scene in there where you're walking and all of a sudden you hear the Indiana Jones theme playing off, and all of a sudden you hear a crack of a whip, and all of a sudden a gnome drops down wearing a hat looking like Indiana Jones carrying a small golden statue, and he's like, "Don't tell him I was here. I was never here." And he runs off, and then goblins show up in Nazi uniform and go, "There is the Indiana gnome." That's how quirky and stupid this module is. It is great. I will never get rid of it just because it's so fun and so dumb.
Okay.
Yeah. If you haven't picked it up and you're a fan, go get it because it's hilarious just to read. You don't care about hardly any of the stats or anything that goes on with it, but the stories. Like one of the times you actually go through a zoo and you see these monsters and everything, and at the end of it, the guy that's running the zoo is like, ask if you would like to, if he could have your likeness to make a character, to make a model of you, an action figure of you. And if you say yes, he actually steals your body and your character out of the game, but you're an action figure on the shelf now. It's that quirky, stupid. But if you haven't picked it up and you like one time dumb things, Castle Greyhawk is where to go with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. I always remember the Indiana gnome because my GM was running it and he had the accent down great.
I'd be tempted to do a Midwest accent.
But it's actually
Full Indiana.
really good. I started doing it early 80s in middle school and such because my older brother was running it and he stopped, but all my friends wanted to play. And we actually, I had known about The Hobbit because of Raskin and Bass and, all of that. And we were recreating The Hobbit is one of our first things. Was one of my first things GMing. Was trying to recreate The Hobbit and them playing characters in The Hobbit, doing that one. So, Nestor, what about you? When was your first time GMing?
It definitely was Cyberpunk. I think it was once the GM went to college, which was like maybe a year or two after we started. Me and the rest of the players decided that we wanted to continue playing. And I got dragooned, or I was voluntold that I was going to run the games. But it was between me and another member of the neighborhood, and it was definitely Cyberpunk. And then we went into Rifts, Palladium Games, but no, we stayed in Cyberpunk for like a good long while until I was a junior or senior in high school. And then I started running Rifts for a while as well. And then I was better at Cyberpunk because there was no pre-built modules. So the Cyberpunk world, you're in Night City. That's it. Like you could go elsewhere, but at the end of the day, your adventures were in Night City, which was like in LA or like supposed to be LA. So when I started running Rifts, there was so many new modules and world books that I got distracted as a new GM. Like, oh, this new book came out. I want to throw the bad guys in that book at the players. Oh, they want this weapon or they want this, or let me do this, and it just became too much. But then I got to D&D and I became a well-civilized person.
Which kind of brings up the subject when you talk about that. We've all played and everything. We've all done this stuff. One of the things that I've noticed recently is the cutback on amount of material. Usually it's one book that's the starter book and then like a monster's manual and a DM guide. For anybody that's played Rifts or, advanced D&D, how many books that were out there, how many things that even 5th edition has this pretty big, that I notice a lot of the new game systems are like, here's an all-encompassing book. Yes, it's got a few monsters, not a lot. We'll take a Daggerheart. Daggerheart's all-encompassing. It's got some magic items, it's got some monsters, and it's got all the stuff for the players. Jim, what are some of the other ones that you've seen?
Well, just coming off of the OGL, you've got ones like Tales of the Valiant from Cobalt Press. Same thing.
Yep.
It's got the big giant book. They did come out with a couple of monster tomes, but that's been kind of their thing all along. But generally, it's all in the one. A number of them are coming out with this now, where it's just the one and a quick start guide.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the other thing they'll do is they'll give you a pamphlet similar to the old AD&D box book for just getting up and running quickly, and then the giant tome all encompassing to go with that. Even so, still, trying to keep it around $50-$60 for everything at the most in hardcover, which I definitely appreciate.
Yeah, which is something that we've been. I was looking at it. There's been a few new RPGs come out that we were talking about, and Legends of the Mist, is that the one that we were talking about? That one is a brand new one coming out, and that's something else I've noticed that a lot of games are pushing a little bit more for narrative action dice or narrative type thing, and it's going away from just I roll a d20 or I roll 10d6 and I shoot and whether I hit or do damage. But there's been a lot of narrative, and I've been doing the more narrative on my end, even when I was playing D&D, that if you describe what you're going to do and give a little flair, you may get an advantage die or a +2 or +3, just to egg that story on right now. But what have you been seeing Legends of the Mist? Is that one you know much about that?
I have not played it yet. I have the book. A friend of mine just did the solo run through, but it is absolutely that way. As a matter of fact, the book itself is laid out like a graphic novel. It's telling the story of the hero, and then he has this encounter, and then it breaks down how you play the encounter in the rule set. Taking that sort of thing on. Been a couple of others, and I think that there's a lot more of that because people want to jump in. The theater kids who tend to over role play when they're playing D&D. I don't know anybody like that at all. Will want to play these things and without having to learn the big rule sets, learning all the crunchy. And the successive groups like Evil Hat and a couple of the others show that works. Give them some simple things, basic structure, and let the narrative take over, which I think works out really well. There are a couple of others that are coming out too that are either solo or small group. Same thing. It's mostly narrative with some D6s or D10.
Yeah, what's some of the ones you mentioned Evil Hat, like Kids on Bikes.
Kids on Bikes, Monster of the Week, Masks.
Masks is another one.
Either Apocalypse Engine or Fate, or I forget what the other cluster of D6's engine is called. There's a number of those that are coming out that are absolutely narrative driven, and also what I call con games. You can get in and jump in. You can play for 2 hours, have a great time. Not a huge ramp up. As long as your GM knows the mechanics and can guide you through, it's all good.
Yeah, that's something that I've noticed quite a bit lately. There's been a more push for less number crunchy games. Like lately, my biggest number crunchy game or any crunchy type system is probably Pathfinder. And Pathfinder's a little bit, but it's not as bad as some of the other ones, like Rifts.
Yeah. Yep. Or the old Star Wars RPG from way back ago, and now the ones the Rebel Scum and the Outer Rim games, which are much more. I don't want to say simplistic. That's an unfair term, but less crunchy, more get out there and sling your blast.
Yeah, go out and kind of have fun thing. That was one of the things that I've noticed recently. A lot of people, we've got like tons of Kickstarters coming up and tons of things trying to get into it. And that's the first thing I look is it something that I can get people to play pretty quickly? Or is it something I can take? Or is this going to be a super, super, super complicated game? And that was the one thing that I was really concerned about on any games when I buy them is how number crunchy as it is. What is it? Blackbirds, which I think is an amazing world, amazing system, but it is very crunchy, very, very numeric. And I was like, I tried it with my people while we were trying to create characters and they just couldn't grasp it. And I was like, nope, we're not doing it. It's not going to work. Even though it's something we're doing, we'll try something different. And even some of the games that are actually that I think are a little bit simple, people are still having some issues with. I know people that can't do some of the White Wolf games, even though it's adding up the D10s, per your dots and rolling them. It still comes into a little bit of an issue of how this works type thing. So, with that, there's been, like I said, there've been quite a few games coming out, RPG wise, that I want to play and that I want to see, but one of them I can't buy. I do want to look into Draw Steel. I don't know if anybody's seen that yet. It is actually a game. Their selling point is the longer you fight, the more powerful you become. But it also totes that it wants you to play with a hex map and miniatures and stuff like that. And so I that was kind of a put off on me because I'm like, I come from the old school of Mind's Eye Theater with no maps, no nothing. I mean, when, lead miniatures came out, we were like, woo-hoo, because we never had anything like that. But I come from the old school of, Mind's Eye. But, I was looking at it and I was like, well, maybe I can go ahead and get it. And it's $100 and it'll probably be after shipping be $160 for 2 books. And I'm like, I can't justify $160 for 2 books. I know you had mentioned, $50 for a book. That's
well. I'm talking the small print. A lot of the small prints is what I was talking about. The quicker games. Yeah. No, there's a number of them that. There was one that I looked at. It was about a year and a half ago. I don't remember the name of it now. It was super grimdark, had some minis, and was really, really interesting mechanics. It was going to be $235 for basically the beginner set because it came with a dozen minis and some other things. I'm like, most of I do very little in person anymore. It's 5e, so no.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite a bit. I mean, don't get me wrong. And then, I would like to see this, but I don't know if I could, I can't justify $160 for 2 books.
No.
There was another one that I thought was a very cute. It will teach you sign language as you play the game. You've probably seen it on there, and it was like teaches you American Sign Language while you play the game, which I thought that would be kind of cool. That would be a book I could do. But by the time I got the book, counting shipping and tax and everything, it was just way too much, and I couldn't go for it. I was like, type thing. I just couldn't get to it. Which goes to my next point. I, Nestor, and Slade kind of like a little bit of grimdark with our games. We kind of like a little bit of dark going on.
Bullshit.
To be fair, I go with the wide range, but I do dig it.
We like to do the emotional damage stuff, but we kind of like our dark games, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We always tell people, this is what you're going to get into if you want to play this game, right? But I've noticed there's been a trend to a more cozy, less grim dark feel in a lot of games on things coming out. And I've noticed a lot of cozy games and a lot of games where, hey, this is a game where all you're going to do is you go have tea parties with people. Or, these woodland games where you're playing woodland creatures and such. Nestor,
To be fair, I'm thinking of playing My Little Pony. So I would not consider myself a brony. I have a daughter. The fact that I know the original My Little Ponies existed, that is completely fine. But I would completely run a My Little Pony game. Yes, it would be fun. Would it be grim dark? Possibly. I would throw it in there somehow.
Grim Dark My Little Pony.
Like, would evil Charity show up every so often? Yes. Would Pinkie Pie eventually turn into Harley Quinn? That's a maybe, but it will happen. I will throw it in there. But friendship is magic.
Okay, I don't feel anywhere near as bad playing Humblewood then.
That's another one. I bought Humblewood just because I thought it was a cool concept. It looks very neat, very cute, very good. Go ahead. What did you think? I haven't had a chance to play it yet.
So it is fun. So I played with it was last summer now. So about a year ago with my friend has two kids. One's at the time was 12, the other 10, and a couple of their friends. They wanted to play some D&D. And so I set up, we played a little bit, and then one of the kids said, "Hey, what about this?" And we played Humblewood. It is fun, it is cute, it is clever, and it's creative and still falls into the 5e-ish mechanics domain. So it's for all of its faults, 5e is not a hard system for new people to pick up at a basic level.
No.
So this worked well for the kids. It is cozy. I played a macaw wizard and had a blast with it. I put it in the realm of what I call the Animaniacs cute, where it is really clever, it is cute, it is fun for kids, but has enough winks and nods in it for the adults.
Yeah, one of the ones that I played, I ran a couple of one shots of Mouse Guard. Mouse Guard, yeah, Mouse Guard is one. The books are really cool. The story is really neat. You pretty much are playing field mice, with no magic type stuff, and it's all like swords and ranger mice. Pretty much is what you are, and it was it wasn't hard. I actually had the book, played a couple of times, and then someone I knew was like, "I want to play a game with my kids, but I want something simple that they can play that's not going to be there." And I'm like, "Here." And I gave them Mouse Guard, and their kids loved it because the monsters are fighting spiders, snakes,
Yeah.
A bird, owl, that type of stuff. So it doesn't break into that dark aspect of the game, but it still is a challenge, and they can understand it because a mouse is going to be afraid of a hawk or a spider or a scorpion or whatever, because it fits in that realm of possibilities for them.
And it lets your characters grow into legends, right? Like I remember reading Legend of the Black Axe, and they actually had the Black Axe as an RPG NPC that you could grow into almost. So it was cool. I know there was a second edition. I never got to play it, but it's a fun game. So
So did you have any other ones that you know of?
Nothing's actually jumping out at me, because it's not, I'll be honest, it's not an area I get into a lot, simply because most of the people that I end up playing with, other than, when I'm doing things with the kids, we're sticking more traditional or either the Grimdark or the Kobolds. So it's either farce or, otherwise.
Yeah. Which then there's the other end of the spectrum that, we play, and we've got a system like 5th edition D&D, and we make the story dark for whatever reason. We have, characters kill their favorite NPCs in a world. We have, people that are, half dragon, half human, this type of stuff. But then we have games that are specifically dark. And this one, I've never run a dark game before like this, because this was a whole new type of stuff. And two of the players are in here, and two of the players have told me we needed to take a break, and it went a little too dark, and it was Die. Die, great game, really cool, nice concepts.
Yep.
Actually, all three of y'all were in here because, yeah, all three of us.
We all played it.
Yeah. And that was a game that was dark and is kind of meant to be dark type thing. So, Slade, do you want to talk about that one a little bit?
Sure. I mean, I was the character, the emotion knight that, fully powered up. I think it said I can take on an entire religion.
Yeah.
You could kill a god. You could destroy an idea.
Yeah.
And there were one of the things about it though, and I think this is this is one of those areas where that's so hard to both play and GM and stay within bounds of respect and triggers. And this is one of the things. And Die is built around skirting those edges. And I think that was one of the things where you have to be really, really careful of how you're approaching it as a player, how you respond to the things the GM is giving you, as well as the other players. And it's a fine line, and it is not, they are not for the faint of heart. And there were a couple of times in there where I think there were a couple of moments where both the dice and the role play styles conflicted. And when that happens, it runs the edge. To be fair, it is a fun system. It is a very interesting system. It is an advanced system, despite looking simple on the front.
Yeah.
The mechanics, when you first look at it, these are pretty straightforward. These are pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
However, I still have it here someplace. When we started playing, Gonzo sent us each an envelope in the mail, a sealed envelope. This is what happens when you're going to die. And
Hell hydrate.
Hell hydrate. It is one of those things. And that's where the advanced part comes in, is finding that. And I think that's one of those ones. Plus, we also got it right at release. I think they've actually made a couple of revisions since that helped mitigate some of that around that. And I think it's not even, I can't even say it's the fault of the game. It's not the fault of the players. It's not the fault of the GM. It's just one of those things that it's hard. And when you play a dark, I played an Evil 5e campaign where, some of you know Asimo, and myself and a couple of other people were in, and we went in full evil. And I had to apologize to another player at one point in time because my character was in fact evil, and did some awful things. So I think it's a hard area to run.
Yeah. For people who don't know, Die is a game where you create a character in the real world that gets drug into a fantasy world, and you actually don't get to choose your class. As a GM, you actually kind of have a one-on-one psychological session with the player describing stuff, and based on their answers depends on their class that they get. It is.
I have it.
Yep. Yeah, and in Die, you only get one dice to play with unless you're the GM. and you can have that. Because the GM actually plays a character also in this, which is pretty interesting. But the one thing about this is you have to take their insecurities of their character in game into this fantasy world. And Mizzy was playing a character that had transitioned and had a dead name, and these orcs would use the dead name, and that's something that is. And like I said, we'd all discussed this, and we'd all talked about what our hard nose and hard cutoffs and all that stuff were, but the game is supposed to kind of skirt that, and it's really hard because there was a couple of times I had to stop and go, wait, nope. I had to, make sure that I myself make sure that I didn't, because even though the story could have led to that, I had to stop and go, nope, that's not what's going to happen. Because
it's also one of those games building off of that. We talked about the hard stops and things like that.
Yep.
You learn new things on where your stops are.
Oh yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
You learn. Oh shit! I thought I was going to be okay. It is not okay.
Yeah.
You learn not to play this game high.
Yeah.
Oh, that explains so much.
I look back on it, even though it was a very interesting, very different, and very the books are really good because it's based off a graphic novel. Very cool system. If I were to run it again, I would run it just as a fantasy world and not run it with the drag from the real world into this one, and just run this world as a fantasy world, because I think it would be really cool then, because then you could just go hog wild and take the real world element out of it. But
well, I think you could, but it would be harder because and not play on the the Joe all of a sudden is the super powered knight.
yeah.
That part gets weird and it's hard.
Yeah, it gave the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon feel. Like, hey, we're going to ride the roller coaster, and you end up in a different world. And while it wasn't just like that, it was still cool. So also they could forget and they wake up at the end of the session as regular humans. That's you could run that intro game that way as well, where they go back. So many different ways to play that game too, in my mind.
Yeah. And that was, we first got it, tested it out. And that was the thing is I wanted to get a group, test it out, see what it was like, go for it. And it was dark. It was, we all kind of went, oh shit. And there was a couple of times, and there was, I got messages from people who was like, okay, yeah, we almost broke a boundary there. And I was like, okay, what was it? And then, it was this and this and this. And I was like, okay, we doing okay? All right, we're good. Good. All right, cool. And such. And it was, that one-time thing. But then we've got our dark games that are not real world style, but dark games as in like Cthulhu or, Ravenloft, or stories that are dark too, type thing. And like mine, The Haunting of Lexington Manor is going to be a dark world. The world is a combination of Cthulhu meets Ravenloft. And then we've got the Rebirth of Souls, which is a Forgotten Realms knockoff. And it is Forgotten Realms, but with a dark kind of twist, where I've added dark elements to it, where people want to kill people quite quickly when they see them, and torture them and break their kneecaps and, so on and so forth. Because the bad guys are the bad guys. The bad guys are being jerks, type thing. But Slade, what are some of your dark games? Dark games and dark stories. How about that?
So probably the darkest game I've played actually was that outside of Die was that 5e that was written to be sort of originally psychological horror, but ended up being a whole bunch of evil people working to fuck each other over, basically, is what it worked out to be. But it got very, very dark. It got psychological. It was, I think we had, out of the 40 sessions we played, 4 combats. 4 actual turn-based rounds current combat. The ones that I've run though, I did run Monster of the Week as a campaign. The original campaign was a little more lighthearted, go dark on another one. I've also run a offline a really dark take on Deadlands.
I can see that. Deadlands can be dark just based on what it is.
And that was it was a deliberate choice. I'll be honest, I am not a dark GM by nature. It's not my general style, so it is a little bit of a departure, but I do like it, and I do enjoy playing in a dark campaign too. So that's in those areas. I am looking at a couple of new ideas though for October for some kind of dark one-shots, Halloween one-shots, which I think will be interesting.
Do you feel that there's a difference between dark and spooky?
Well, yeah, of course. So, fun fact: I've never played Call of Cthulhu, never played Ravenloft.
Oh.
I have never stepped into Strahd, and I haven't read anything because I eventually play the campaign. So I haven't read any of the books. I haven't done anything with it. I don't even watch real plays. There are spooky. I ran a Halloween one shot that was spooky, but it was silly at the same time. That's actually easy to do. But when you get into spooky, dark, scary, that is very different. Scooby-Doo, Kids on Bikes, things like that can be spooky.
Mm-hmm.
And with Leaguer Dragon and Gren, I did Monster of the Week. We did some spooky stuff. None of it was ever super dark because I have people like that in the game. So they're 2 different categories as far as I'm concerned.
What do you? I mean, so I run anything, and usually I look at my players and I was like, what type of campaign do you want? And there's only a few things that are. I've only run Die is the darkest one that I've ever done, just because it actually falls into some real life things, and I've done some emotional damage, which I will do. Emotional damage to me is what I like in my games. You got an NPC that you love and everything else and so on and so forth, but the bad guy knows about it and the bad guy hears about it, and the bad guy's gonna cause emotional damage. And I think that's where that's where I like to set my games as emotional damage games. For your players, not for the characters, not the players, type thing. And Mizzy is well versed in the emotional damage that I've done before.
Yes, I am.
And
I keep coming back.
But I think that's called because you're invested.
Yeah. Well,
that's the word. When
you have the goblin sidekick, that's that people get invested. I had an NPC that the party, it was a throwaway that became like the throwaway NPC that became the party's favorite, and you had to actually build out a backstory because that little stable boy was their favorite. That's investment. You can play with that. And yeah, you do have that trademark, I've noticed.
I do like the emotional damage. Get invested in stuff and then stuff happens. I've never asked a player if I could kill their character off for story reasons, have I, Mizzy?
This is me waving the bullshit flag. Because we all know better.
And I think that's what it is. It comes down to creating a great story. It wouldn't have been, I'm going to do this just because to do it. We're doing it for a reason. I'm just not going to space cow you. There's a reason why it needs to be done. Or why we want it to be done. Because for good story type thing. Because when I built Rebirth of Souls, I knew exactly what God was going to do with Sarah. I invested her as a child. You got invested as a child. You liked her as a child. You thought she was great. She was fun. So on and so forth. and then the story happened, adulthood, and then what's happened to her now. But that's because I want you invested in what happened to her.
All I know is you've taken a happy-go-lucky halfling and turned him into an instrument of divine vengeance that will lay waste to the world.
But that's good because that's character development.
That's your new BBEG. Let's just be real. That's where Rendaya is headed.
But that
We're not gonna have to worry about Tiamat. We're gonna have to worry about Rendaya.
That's not a lie. Well, I think that's important though, and that's where you're seeing a lot of these, going back to the original thing about all the new narrative style games. Is that's what people want to do. They want to develop the characters. They want to get into this. The theater kids. I think Baptized was saying fantasy gaming is how I get out of this. Yeah, that's the thing, and the development is there, and the risk, everything else is important, and that's why you're seeing the narrative games as opposed to 4E hex crawls.
Yeah, and that's going back to that Real Steel or Draw Steel is like it's supposed to be on a hex map and everything. I'm like, does it have to be, or does it is that just an easier way to do it? But there's a thing that you get invested with not only with your character, but you can get invested in what happens to the players in your characters, and then those people, you build a story and watching that story grow. Because if I'm going to be playing a game, I'm going to be invested to do dangerous shit. Because I'm an adventurer, I'm meant to do this. Unless I'm playing something that's a scaredy cat type character, but for the most part, that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to be playing this character, and it's an adventurer, supposed to be going out and doing and having wild adventures and taking risks. And to see a character, aka your character, go from being hey happy-go-lucky halfling to I will burn the world down one tree at a time until it's done. It's good, because to me that's character development. If you're not getting character development or you're not seeing things happen, kind of where I don't like that. It's kind of a boring character. There's characters change, type stuff.
The challenge, whether, and it doesn't have to be dark either. I personally feel like as long as there's that challenge. The archetype, the hero's journey, you have that challenge, you have to overcome, you're hit with these damage things. Yeah, I think that's what makes a story.
Yeah, I think that too. So we actually kind of talked about one of our games, which was the Rebirth of Souls, which is Slade's character, and Mizzy had mentioned a little bit on that and changing stuff. And we've got our Veil of the Lost that Nestor runs that we're working through. And everything. Any games that really stood out to you recently, even in the last 10 years, have been like, damn, I remember this, I will always remember this type thing? Nestor?
I think it was Iron Kingdoms, the 5e edition, which Josh really wanted to run, and just the enjoyment of playing 5e in a War Machine environment was fun. It was one where I did not have to be the game master, but I tend to sit back and help the younger players. It's just the way I am. Look, 30 years I've done my role playing. I've done the game master. I've done super good and super bad, but just enjoying watching the world grow, and playing a ranger, which is one of my favorite character classes, and not even a ranger, but let's be a stereotypical, it's a dark elf ranger on top of that, so it's a Nis ranger. I get to just enjoy it, and while it was short-lived and I didn't play much of it, it still stands out as like a good time where I can play just sit back, throw dice, let Josh tell his story, but yet let the other players do the big things. Excuse me. but let the players, let the younger players, in my opinion, just have more fun. And I'm just kind of there to just lead them into, like, maybe you want to do it this way instead of doing it, like, guide them. Uh, was fun, and that stands out to me to this day.
Mizzy?
I have 3. So two of them are very specific moments though. So obviously I first got introduced into your style of GMing by listening to your Star Wars game.
Yep.
That will always stick in my mind because it was a damn good story. And I will always remember sitting at my desk, listening to it, and texting you, what the actual fuck are you doing to these people and these characters? But also, I could not get enough of it. Damn it. And then the other 2 moments are when you asked me to kill off my Kenku rogue Alamer. And you blew me up in a fireball. And then the last one is when you plotted to kill off Erica's wizard character in our Wither Wild game. Because so I did not know this was happening. However, as soon as the scene started, I knew what was happening and I just had to sit back and watch.
Yeah, Erica and I planned that for like a month and a half, 2 months.
It was damn good, but fuck. I'm like,
Slade.
okay, how many of these people are going to cry?
Oh yeah, we had 2 people tear up during that scene because Erica's character died.
Jackass.
This is actually the easiest question you've asked me all night. Is the game that brought me into this community is the original Pyro Club campaign. We all were in the same guild in WoW, starting back in 2007 with Burning Crusade.
Oh man.
And we played together for a long time, and then DM Liam said, "Hey, I want to try the new 5th edition." So we started playing for a while, and my son was playing with us. We had a whole bunch of folks, and then based on the explosion of podcasts and things, one of the guys on the said, "Let's try streaming it." What the heck? But we went from level 1 to level 20 over the course of 7.5 years. And honestly, it was I will murder each and every single one of you to make sure that there's no competition to get at DM Liam's table again. He's a great DM. I loved every minute of it, and that will always be the benchmark. I rate myself against how he ran that game, and the character develop. You talk about character development. It was the highlight of my RPG career.
I love that for you.
Any RPG systems that we're looking forward to? I know that, they've got stuff coming out, or RPG systems you'd like to play or run. Blade? I can see your wheels turning.
There are a few. There are some that are coming out. One that when it comes out, we were talking before we started streaming about this one system we play tested that is very alpha. It needs a lot of work, and I don't want to seem like I'm trash talking, so I'm not going to mention it. But it has a lot of that one is going to be really good, and I want to try that. There's also I do want to try a number of the different OGL spinoffs. Playing in a Daggerheart now, I'm working with a couple of people to maybe get a quick Tales of the Valiant in. Some of these others to try them out and see how they operate. The only other one that I do want to try is this came in, and this has been going into what I was talking about with the Halloween. Is there's a number of creepy survival, post-apocalyptic survival ones. One of them is called Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland. And if you want to talk about stupid, goofy, this is all in a good way. This is not an insulting thing. It's like
Yeah.
really off the wall, farcical, but still super freaking dark and laced with peril. I want to try that. And then there's another one called All Flesh Must Be Eaten. And
That was a good one.
I do want to try that. I think that one's been out for a little bit, but
Yeah,
it's new to me. It's new to me, and that one I definitely try, and I'm thinking about that for some Halloween spookiness.
Yeah, All Flesh Must Be Eaten is a good one. Mizzy?
It's by the same people that did Die. I think it's the Apocalypse Keys.
Apocalypse Keys, yeah.
Yeah. You picked up that book and I started devouring it and I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, that one's
maybe want to play. If we
yeah,
can find
that
the right
one
people.
is a story. Is you're each character is a key to the apocalypse, and if you let loose and get a little too crazy, your character is actually turned into an NPC because they open up starts of gates to the hell and everything, and so you're supposed to be reining your power in type stuff. But yeah, it's a kind of a dark system. But yeah, no, I still got that one. That's a good one.
I would get turned into an NPC.
Nestor?
I got 4.
Holy shit.
Lord of the Rings 5e
Okay.
by Free League Publishing.
Mhm.
Alien 2nd Edition, the RPG, also by Free League Publishing.
Yeah.
They stay taking my money. Outgunned, which I mentioned earlier. There's 2 versions. There's the pulp version, which is like The Mummy and Indiana Jones, and then there's the John Wick version, also by Free League Publishing. Yeah, those 3. And Tales of the Valiant, because I kickstarted that. It's supposed to be different from 5e, or it's just 5e adjacent, and it was supposed to be there. Oh, you don't want to do OGL anymore, we're gonna do our own thing, but they kind of turned it into their own version of a 5e anyway. But yeah, those 4 have been high on my list, and I've done the first Alien RPG. It's actually one of my favorite RPGs because it's dark and sci-fi, and no one can confuse me for that. Of course not. Then Lord of the Rings, I mean, come on, it's just Lord of the Rings and 5e, 2 systems. I wish I might have to convert Lord of the Rings into Daggerheart, because it's I love the system. I love the the environment, so I might just have to do that.
There is one game that I want to run or have someone else run, and it's called Sin. It's a post-apocalyptic, but each character is like super godlike type thing, and your characters can like, oh, you can bring a plague out, or you could cause swarm stuff. So everybody's like undead superheroes, or I wouldn't say evil, but you do quite a few things that are really weird. The story and the history is really good. I really like it. Sin is one I want to do. Apocalypse Keys I think would be a good one to do, because it's not even a hard system, but it'd be something kind of cool to do. I think that's. I have so many freaking RPGs. It's not even funny. So it just all matter things. But I'd like to play in a lot of stuff. Oh, go ahead, Slade.
No, the 2 others I realized. Grit, and if you haven't tried Grit yet, Grit is a fantasy system. It is very indie, but it is a really neat system, and I did get to play test the another version that they're coming out, a different setting, but that one is a lot of fun, and I want to try it again. The other one is Mothership. We played I played one game of Mothership with DM Liam, and I want to get back into that. That one can be a lot of fun, and that one's a really good. That's dark, but doesn't always have to be either.
Yeah, that was one of the ones. I know there was one I thought was funny. I can't remember the name of it. I'm trying to look it up real quick. And it was Hobomancer. I think is what it was called. And you played hobos that protected the world because they knew all about the intricacies of demons and everything. And it was you pretty much were in a modern world, and you knew all these little tricks and tricks to do stuff. I had the book. I sold it a long time ago. But that was one of them. Oh, I know one I want to run. That is just a one shot just for fun. The Dark Crystal RPG. I think that would be just it's not super dark or anything, but it would be a cool little, one just to kick off type stuff. So, we have about 15 minutes left for our media section. So, with that, Slade, you are the guest. What do you have for media? What's one?
The main thing between traveling and trying to catch up on writing, I haven't done a heck of a lot watching media, with the exception of Peacemaker. Because I am absolutely a James Gunn fanboy long before even Guardians of the Galaxy. But I do really enjoy Peacemaker. I was one of the few people that liked all of the Suicide Squad movies. That I have not, and it's funny, in the previous episodes I've had to mute and walk away. I've only barely started the Alien Earth. I'm on the second episode.
So good.
Yeah, it's been good to get into, but my media consumption, I realized coming in, I'm like, I haven't watched anything really. Oh my god.
Yeah, Alien Earth has been really
Borderlands
good.
4 is out, so
yeah. The Alien Earth has been really good. We watched this last one. It's been really good. The one thing that I did watch, and I finally watched all of it, was the second half of Wednesday on Netflix. And it wasn't that great. It was just kind of a meh.
I've been hearing mixed. Yeah.
And what was bad is I was looking at it and saw an article come up, and that it lost 48% of its viewership. And I'm like, that's a large chunk of viewership. I mean, 48% drop in viewership on the second season. That's huge. Something went wrong. I don't know what it was.
That's interesting that they even reported that.
Yeah.
Because that's Netflix, and Netflix is so stingy about info.
Yeah. And I was like, something's wrong with that, but I get it. Overall, I give the second season 2.5. Space Harpies, it's just meh. It wasn't that great. It was, but rumor is they're going to do a Fester standalone series.
I could see that.
I could see it. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but they'll try to cash cow anything they can. So, Nestor, what do you got?
As long as Luis Guzman is in it.
Yeah,
I love Guzman.
Yeah, he's awesome. I finished The Foundation on Apple TV. Third season. It got approved for fourth season, and I could see why. It's been a great series so far. I just had to see it. I was kind of thrown around with the way it worked out. I didn't finish the books. I barely started the books, so everything to me, whether it's like the book or not, it's still pretty good. I would probably give it a 1 Space Harpy, maybe even 1.5. There are some parts where it just really pissed me off, and I'm just like, I'm tired of these guys. Like I'm tired of the Empire.
The Empire
Um,
is annoying as fuck at times.
yeah, all three like the even when they had the little kid Empire, like it just really annoyed the shit out of me. Um, but I get it. But I see the breakdown of each one eventually, and I just see how it goes. I'm tired of the their helper or their like the Remazel or
Android?
whatever her name. Yeah,
Yeah.
the android, the robot. Like I'm tired of her too. Like it was like tired of all of it. Like I'm tired of Selden. I'm just all like I like the story, but the characters get annoying, and that's probably the point. Like they're not all good. They're
No.
not all evil. Um, even when the bad guys are clearly the bad guys, you kind of understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
So it's a very good books. The books have been great so far. The series has been great so far. I'm looking forward to season 4. Um, yeah,
I
that's
think
what I
season
have.
4 will probably be the end of it too.
I think so. I think once they reach season 4, they'll probably maybe even season 5, depending on how far. But that's it. Like I don't see it
Yeah.
going past 5.
Yeah. I agree with you too. I would give it like a 1 to 1.5 space herbies. It was good, but yeah, there's some time for it.
Yeah.
Mizzy?
I had a very busy week this last week, so my media consumption is a whole lot of very limited. Um, Wednesday we watched Spy X Family on
Mhm.
Crunchyroll that we started. It's super fun. Full of shenanigans. Um, that little girl is adorable. I don't want to give too much away, but we're 4, 5 episodes in,
Yep.
maybe. Super fun. Really love it. Go watch it. You will not regret your choices.
Slade, you got anything else?
No, not really. Other than just I didn't give a rating. The one thing the Peacemaker season 2 so far is about a 1 to 1.5. There are a couple of areas that are kind of slapped together to give it's like plot mortar.
Mm.
And a couple of the characters are just there to fill a role because I don't know if they couldn't get the same actors before, or they had to write the story around. I'm not sure. But it is still it still has the charm and the fun and the goofiness of the first season. But yeah, no, other than that, I said I rewatched this is the Star Wars nerd on the flight back. I rewatched the original trilogy. You know, that's where I am at this point for new media. Is not a heck of a lot.
I did watch the rest of Strange New Worlds. Great Star Trek series. Good, always good. This season was a good season too. This last episode ended a story arc, which is fine because I know next season is going to be their final season type thing, so it'll be good. Overall, I give this one about a 1 to 1.5. Also, still good, still fun. Good Star Trek. So we will see how everything's going to go with the last season. Nestor?
Peacock / Sci-Fi has a show called Revival.
Mhm.
I've been watching. It's got the original actress from Winona Earp, which is like my guilty pleasure. I love westerns. But when Wyatt Earp's great, I think like 4 greats in granddaughter is killing demons and whatnot with Peacemaker, right? Like it's pretty cool. So, but this one, the actress is playing like a sheriff or a deputy in a small town where I don't know if I mentioned it, but people who have died within 2 weeks come back to life, and they don't know how. We're talking about 150 to 200 people in a town that just come back to life, and it's 10 episodes long, and you find out that there's a like conspiracy with the government, and religious zealots are involved, the governor, the mayor. It's just a whole bunch of dark shenanigans, and it ended this past Thursday. I believe it was Thursday, but I finally caught up this weekend, and it was fun. It was one of those shows where I could put my Magic cards in order and watch it and just have it in the background. I don't need to like pay attention to too much. I can listen to the story and not be captivated by the looks of it. Cheesy as hell. The season is probably a 2 space herpes because it's just you just groan and like, oh God, please make it stop. But you keep coming back for more. So but yeah, that was pretty much the only thing else I had left.
Miz?
We played a lot of Star Wars Old Republic over the last 2 days. That was my free time.
I did finish Twisted Metal. And finish the new season of Twisted Metal. It was okay. It wasn't as good as first season. Second season was less than first season. And I know that it's going to be an issue because they did make it where they do a season 3, but I don't know if it's going to get renewed for a season 3 type thing. It was okay. It was like a 2. There was some fun stuff. There was some interesting stuff, some haha, but you can only do so much killing, smashing, car blow up, jokes before you're just like, okay, we get it. Yeah, we get it. Yep, we get it. Type thing. So other than that,
I will give them credit for putting multiple dimensions into video game characters.
yeah.
Right.
The depth of some of the pulled out of the video game characters is really well done.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing great. Will it get another season? I wouldn't be surprised if it don't.
Season 2 were good.
Yeah. So I did start watching because Invasion started back up on Apple TV, which I really liked. This season, third season, we're back to crazy alien shenanigans shit, and it's starting to kick off pretty well and pretty heavy. So hopefully it's going to do really good. No review just yet, so we'll wait and see. So, anybody got anything else?
I'll pull in. There's one thing I'm looking forward to. I think it's in a couple of weeks. Is the third season of Alice in Borderlands?
Oh yeah.
That show. I started watching it as a filler. It was a Saturday afternoon. I was in the house alone. I put on the first episode, and it sucked me all the way in.
I agree with you.
And the third season comes out, I think, the 25th, 28th, something like that. And I'm just going to be lost. I'll call in sick. That's fine.
I was really surprised at how fun it was and how interesting it was, because you know what it's about, and you know it's not a new concept,
Right.
but they do it right.
And they hid some of the twists really well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. All right. Nobody has anything else. We can get out of here 6 minutes early. Let Missy go back to playing Star Wars Old Republic. Let
He's gonna go to bed.
Slade go ahead and do his rewriting some stuff. Nestor go play Magic cards, and I can go get something to eat. Guys, we appreciate you listening. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate anytime you come in, no matter what. Please take care of yourself. Please look after each other. And just, love one each other. That's the best we can do. Put out what you want to put out, but we need to make sure that we check in on each other. For More Than Dice, I'm Gonzo.
I'm Mizzy.
I'm Nessie.
And I'm Slade.
Good night.
Thanks for listening to More Than Dice, making the world a better, nerdier place, one dumb joke at a time. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. For more nerdy action or to connect with your hosts, check them out on Facebook.com/More Than Dice and Twitch.tv/more_than_dice. Until next time, stay nerdy, stay proud, and we'll see you soon on the More Than Dice podcast.